Thank you. So today, Rod asked me to lead the session. So I thought let's read together chapter 27, verse 15. So just few verses. Can somebody read it for us? And we can then discuss it. Chapter 27, 15.
Moses spoke to Hashem, saying, appoint me Hashem, God of the spirits of all flesh, a man over the assembly, who shall go out before them, and who shall come in before them, and who shall take them out, and who shall bring them in. And it should not be the assembly of Hashem, like sheep that have no shepherd. Hashem said, Hashem said to Moses, take to yourself Joshua, the son of Nun, a man whom the Spirit is within him, and support your hand upon him. You shall stand before him, Elijah the Cohen, and before the entire assembly, and you shall command him before their eyes. You shall confer from your majesty upon him, so that he will obey with the entire assembly of Israel.
A few more.
Okay, and before Elijah the Cohen shall he stand, who shall inquire for him through the decision of the Urim before Hashem by his word shall they go out, and by his word they shall come in, he and all the children of Israel with him, and the entire assembly. Moses did as Hashem has commanded him. He took Joshua and stood him before Elijah the Cohen and before the entire assembly. He supported his hands upon him and commanded him as Hashem has spoken through Moses.
All right. So this is a story I'd like to focus today. And so here is Moses, the last month or two before he passed away. There is a whole book of Deuteronomy before us, but that's last minute of his life. And he is concerned about somebody taking over. So he asked Hashem, let somebody take over. I want to appoint somebody. So Hashem tell him, take Joshua and commanded him, put your hand on him and give him some majesty, glory. And then he does it. He does the same thing. And so that's the story. And he appointed Joshua. That's from the bird view, just a story. So we all understand what we are talking about. Now let's say turn on the microscope magnification, and we can now focus more on each word or each line by itself. So let's start again. The first verse, 15, it says, and Moses told Hashem. Do you sense what's strange here?
Normally it says Hashem spoke to Moses.
Spoke to Moses. So here is two things. Yeah. But more than that, what I mean told, there is a difference if I say it says something to you, or I'm going to tell you something. If I tell you something, it's hard. Sit down and listen, okay? It's opposite, I say something to you. So Moses says to Hashem, well, let me tell you something. Harsh. So the Rabbi, the Talmud quote, and the Midrash quote Rabbi Yehuda, who says here, there are 175 sections of Torah, and none of them you'll find such a verse. If Moses speaks to Hashem harshly. Listen, Hashem. Listen to what I say. So what authority, let me ask you, how dare a human being says to Hashem, you sit down and listen. What authority is it? So what can it be? A prophet? A prophet will never say to us, to God, sit down, listen to what I say. So so the only one thing in the whole universe that men can talk to Hashem, listen to what I said, and that's the Torah scholar who come from the power of oral Torah. Okay, oral Torah is Sfatemet says last week Parshat. Sfatemet says oral Torah is in our hand. Hashem gave us the written Torah. Oral Torah is not only in our hand. We dig it from our own soul. How can it be? Sfatemet go back to 2 Parshiyot from last week. Actually, the Parsha discussed last week about the well. The dug a well. Israel dug a well and sang the short verse. Dug a well and said, come up water from the well. And the well was dug by righteous people, officers, or righteous people. So that well is in our soul and our being. And that well presents the oral Torah. And the water comes from inside us as we say new things about new law about the oral Torah. Many of the oral Torah laws are actually composed by Rabbi. Some we received from Moses, but many of them are obviously from the Rabbi discussion in the Talmud. So they compose those oral Torah laws from their own well. In fact, Sfatemet says a beautiful metaphor. Well, if the written Torah is like a rain, come from heaven, okay? Everybody see it. It's clear, it's there. It's written Torah. Like manna from heaven, and what Torah was given on Sinai from heaven. The well is the water we dug in our own soul. But in fact, it's the same water. The water from the rain is infiltrate the ground and come out to the spring. So the metaphor really fit here. The oral Torah is not something really new. It's something the same. The origin is still from Hashem, but it went into the earth. It came out from into our soul. It also divinely inspired law. So Moses, now the point is, when you have the oral law in your hand, the authority of the Torah is in human hand. Israel, I'll give you an example. When is Yom Kippur? God sit on Yom Kippur, and he atoned for atonement. So a day of atonement, the heavenly court sit and wait for Israel to pray, and they decide our fate in Yom Kippur. But who decides when Yom Kippur is? It's a Jewish at the rabbinical court. And so on. So Hashem is kind of waiting for Israel to tell him what to do, so to speak. So there is a famous description in the Torah in the Talmud about debate between two giant Torah scholars, and Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Eliezer. And the halacha, God thought that the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer. And Rabbi Eliezer shouted to the wall, show to Rabbi Eliezer, the halacha is like me. And the wall caved in. And Rabbi Yoshua stood up and said, who are you to tell me? The Torah is in my hands. Go away. And the wall erected himself again. This beautiful legend is just to depict the idea that once God gave us the oral Torah, is honored, and he sit down and, so to speak, and in the power of Oral Torah leader, I have the authority to tell God, I'm gonna tell you what halacha is. Now you may ask, oh, okay, far-fetched story. You concocted that story, and I don't believe in Oral Torah. The Karaites say that. I think Christian too say that. I don't believe in Oral Torah. Let me tell you, if the Oral Torah is not right, David is not a kosher Jew. He's not a Messiah. And why? Because the Torah says no Moabite should join Israel ever. There was no such rejection of any other nation. A Nazi, former Nazi, can come to Israel today, repenting and say convert to Judaism, and is accepted. Actually, there are quite a few of them. Some of the former Nazis became rabbis in Israel today. There's no problem. He was a Nazi, but we accept him. There is no rejection. But Moabite, ever, no Moabite can ever reject, ever join Israel. As good as a precious soul he may be, a total rejection, which is something extraordinary. Now, this Oral Torah that we all worship, the rain from heaven, says that no Moabite should join Israel. Well, Ruth, you know the story of Ruth. She was a Moabite. She was the granddaughter of King Balak from 2 weeks Parshat. Last week's Parshat. Balak. His granddaughter is Ruth, who joined Israel. How come? The written Torah says no. And if she's there, she's not a kosher Jew. And David, who her grandson, is not a Jew, he's a Moabite. And the son of David is not a Jew. Do you realize what you're talking about? But the rabbi, the Talmud said, the rabbi ordained on their own. There is some said it was a tradition, but the Vilna Gaon, the genius from Vilna, said no, it was something rare that the rabbinical court uprooted a verse from the Torah and says a Moabite and man and no Moabite woman, exceptional. It was oral law decision, classical. So David is kosher Jew because the rabbinical court said yes, Oral Torah said yes. Now, if the Karaite don't believe in Oral Torah, so in their eyes, David is not a kosher Jew. And King Solomon is not a kosher Jew. And the whole line of Davidic king are not Jew, and the Messiah is not a Jew. You know what? They never addressed it. They never thought about it. Neither the Christians. So the Oral Torah is again, going back to our verse, Moses now presenting the head of the Sanhedrin, let's say, as a rabbinical master of the Oral Torah. He says to Hashem, let me tell you something. And Hashem listens. Because only that power can anybody come to Hashem and say something like that. King never said something like that to Hashem. No any other person. But if you come with the oral law in your hand, Hashem listens. Okay, so here is the story. So let's go back to our verse. Moses speaks now he tell Hashem something. What does he tell him? Verse 16. Let Hashem appoint, Hashem, the master, how you translate it in English? What is Hashem? God, the God of all flesh, the Spirit, God of all spirit of all flesh. So you are God, you are the one who endow people with spirit, by neshama, spirit. And you are the master, you send those souls down earth. Please send, I'm telling you, send down a soul, a precious soul, because you know you are the master of all spirits. So I want that kind of send, I'm going to tell you, send a soul, precious soul that will be higher than me, that will take over, you will get in front of them, and it means he will have a Torah score, a Torah authority beside secular authority, if you want, fine. But mainly the Torah authority, greater than me. You go up, you go before him, you tell him what to do. It can be military, something. The point is, what bothered Moses here? Rashi said that, of course, Moses wants, as a leader who will hear and understand all the people. Good. Like a president of appointed president of the United States, let's say, who really listen to all the polls and he understands what the people want. That's fine, but that's not in the context here. The context is Sfat Emet says, what kind of spirit? Why does Moses say call Hashem God of all spirit? Because each spirit, when each person is different, and each person has its own perception of God. So much. And each person has his own perception of the halacha. You open the Talmud, the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda said this, Rabbi Yossi said that. What's the difference? Each personality says different. When a new issue come up, and you have to pass, and you have to offer an oral Torah law decision, they come from your own soul, your own body. But I am different than you and she and she. One of them more pessimistic, one of them, we have no two people are ever the same. And no two people have the same conception of God, says Sfat Emet. So when you talk to a rabbinical court, when you talk about this rabbinical court Sanhedrin, these 70 people here, there are 70 different perceptions of what the halacha should be, each one from his own soul. And so how can we do? So I ask you to send the leader of the Sanhedrin who will be able to take the final step and lead them. We understand and listen and be able to address each one. And that calls the Sanhedrin head, the head of the Sanhedrin, which they call it the Rambam, indeed. The Torah referred to him, or the Talmud referred to him, the head of Sanhedrin, as a replacement he's the only person who replaced Moses in the Sanhedrin. And called the wondrous one, called him Mufla Shebador. He is a Mufla, he is a wondrous one. He is the one who knows so much Torah, and he also understands the differences. And he can find a common path, and he will be able to find this 70 different opinions. You can accumulate them to one halacha. That's how oral law works. You know what? The law, actually, one of the rules of the Sanhedrin is, if they come up, all of them come up with the same decision, it's not valid. It must be debate. And there must be minority and the majority. And there must be pluralism there. Otherwise, it's not kosher. But if that's so who's going to decide? The head of the Sanhedrin, he has said, please Hashem, send me, I'm telling you Hashem, send us a soul that will be able to do that. replace me, because he was before, and he will be able to be the authority after me. So let's continue with the story. Now we understand what they're talking about. Otherwise, the congregation of Israel will be like sheep without a shepherd, because if this Jerusalem authority said this, and Tel Aviv Rabbi said that, and if there is no one who find the common path, and they will listen to him, there is no, it's a split. So now listen to what Hashem says. So Hashem answered him, fine. You told me something, so I'm listening. You're right. What is the authority? Take Joshua, that's verse 18. So here you have a soul like that. Joshua, who been with you all his life, is a man who has a spirit in him. That spirit that you ask is, I already prepared him for that. And you should lean your hand on him. Ordain him by putting your hand. Now, I know there are commentary, you can write, they say, oh, Moses wanted a general to replace him. Well, you don't appoint a general by putting your hand on his shoulder. You took your soul and you put him on his shoulder. Oh, you are a general, but not your hand. There's only one position that is transferred authority by hand, smicha. Lean here, smicha in Hebrew, that's a source of rabbinical ordination. Until today. When I got my smicha, so it means not literally, like nobody put his hand, but smicha means some rabbis told, okay, I found you qualified. That's the source of smicha, rabbinical smicha here, to show you that we are really talking about the right thing. He's not talking about military leader, and not financial leader, and not scientific leader, not the general. Torah leader. That's what Moses had in mind. And so Hashem, let's pay attention to what Hashem said. And you put your one hand on him, which means what? You know, it means that, of course, Moses has two, and why one hand? To show that although he's qualified, but he's not quite qualified like you. From my perspective, even more, Hashem says to Moses, it's enough you put one hand. You are the master, and all the rabbis after you, they will be lower than you. And when time comes and your disciple will find a hair, you also put one hand on him, and so on until the end of time. And authority will go down. Moses is the top, and authority goes down. Not Hashem continue. Not only that, take him, place him before Elazar the high priest, because why? He need to be qualified, approved by the high priest, and all the congregation, and you should command them, we'll see in a minute why, and you should appoint him, command him, appoint him on them in front of them. So again, the succession of words. Lean one hand, that's how you should do. Lean one hand on him, ordain him in your time, and you should place him to show the people that he is qualified to replace him. Otherwise, if you don't do it before you pass away, they won't accept him. You must do it in your lifetime. And place him in front of the people, so to show them, you should command him on them in front of their eyes. So they see that you appoint him, Joshua, on them. So the authority goes from you to him, and you command them from above. The people, this is what I put my hand on him, and he's I am now a king and a leader, and I appoint him to replace me. And I command you people to listen. That's what Hashem plan is. Moreover, let's continue what Hashem plan is. Verse 20, and you should put your glory on him. The many commentary debates what glory is, majestic. Those who hold that he was appointed a king, well, king is not, we said king, you don't point a king with two hands. You put a crown on him, whatever. It's a Torah leadership. So what is a glory? Holiness, says Rabbi. You are Moses, you hold, not only your Torah authority, but you were close to me. You were on Mount Sinai 40 days. You are a holy person in the sense that you are close to me. Your holiness, you should also transfer because this is how they will listen to him too. So you transfer the authority and the holiness of yours. Otherwise, they will not, it will enforce his position. And so also one hand. So the same thing as the authority goes down one hand, also the glory goes down one hand. If you are like the sun, Talmud says, he is like the moon. The glory is going down. You are the sun, S-U-N, and Joshua is the moon. And when time comes, Joshua will continue the process. He will pick up Othniel, which happened to follow him. He will take Othniel, put one hand on Othniel, that's the book of Judges, put his hand on Othniel, and transfers part of his own glory to do holiness. And Othniel will replace you, and when Othniel will pass away, he will transfer it to Prophet Samuel, whatever, down the road, until the end of time. It will go down both. Your authority go down, and the holiness will go down. And now verse 21 says, before he will stand before, why should we stand before Elazar? Because he will be able to ask Urim, the Tumim, according to the answer I get from the Urim and Tumim in the Holy Ark, in the Holy Temple. Hashem actually there was a prophecy transferred through the Urim and Tumim until time of David, even after that. You see, David will ask if you go to war or not to go to war. He went to Urim and Tumim and he asked God if to do it or not. So this Urim and Tumim, only the king of Israel and only the head of Sanhedrin can do that. Nobody else can go inside and ask Urim and Tumim. Either the king or the Torah scholar, the head of Sanhedrin, which Moses was both. Moses combined the two functions in one person, and also Joshua. Then it split after that. We had king and we had Torah scholar. But anyhow, those two positions are qualified the person to go inside. So that's what you're dealing with. That kind of position it is. And the head of Sanhedrin is one of them that can ask too what to do. Obviously, we're talking about oral Torah authority. Now, that's what Hashem planned. Now, authority now is in the head of Moses. Did Moses comply with Hashem was. Has he ever defined Hashem order? Never. Ever before or not before or not after. Moses never said to Hashem, no, I'm not going to do it. Here, he has a gut to do, not to follow Hashem at all. Let's see what he says. Verse 22. So Moses took Joshua, fine, that's what Hashem told him, and he first put him before Elazar HaKohen, oh, this was the last thing he should have done. Moses says, wait a minute. I'm going to ask first the people if they want him. Ultimate democracy. Moses says to Hashem, not theocracy here. Clearly in a verse, it's not something that came from the blue moon. It's a verse. He defined Hashem. Hashem wanted from above. Both the authority and the holiness from above. You should do this and this. Tell them what to do. The authority in your hand. Oh, Moses says no. Authority is in their hand, in Israel's hand, because the Torah belongs to them. So he placed first Joshua in front of the people. Once they clap their hand and say, wow, beautiful. Then, once they all accepted Joshua, then again, he took both hands and he leaned on him. Oh, wow. God told him right a minute ago, put one hand. His authority would be lower than it. Moses said, Rashi said that, no. Moses did it better than Hashem wanted. He took Joshua, put two hands. You are either equal to me or even higher than me. At least equal to me. And the authority is fully like mine. And what you decide is equal to what I decide. And when Joshua ordained Othniel too, he will lean two hands on Othniel, and Othniel, so many generations, 3 generations after Moses, Othniel will replace Moses. And the one would, that's why the Rambam said, the head of Sanhedrin replaced Moses. How come? Moses replaced it. Moses says, put two hands, and whatever will replace me, you listen to him as well as me. In fact, he ordered them to their eyes, in front of them. So this generation, every generation should listen to the head of the rabbinical Sanhedrin, who live in their time. So if I have a question, if I have a lucky question, it's not enough to open the Rambam and to see, the Rambam 1,000 years ago said this and this and that. No. I pick up my phone and I call whoever rabbi in Israel, Rabbi Stab, Rabbi this, or Rabbi Goren, or Rabbi this. Tell me, please, what to do. Why don't I open up I have the book of Rambam here. Why should I call my rabbi? Order in front of their eyes. The rabbi who passed in should live in their generation. You listen to the rabbi who live in your generation, because generation changes, says Sfat Emet, and the Torah changes. If I have a question if electricity is good for Shabbat or not, I'm not going to find it in the Rambam, because the Rambam have no clue what electricity is. If I have a question if the police in Israel, the car should go on Shabbat or not, they can carry guns or not. Whatever modern question, if a hospital today should run on this and this and that should do that, or anything modern, I ask the rabbi who live in my generation, who understand the issue, because that's the whole key. Each person has its own. That's what we started with. The Oral Torah come from, that we all go by, come from, people produce it. The same water that came out from heaven. But it's come from them in their time. And it's constructed. The Torah addresses, produces it by people who live on that generation, who understand the issue, and then must be, and we are praying to Hashem that we will have such a leader that finally put them together, replace Moses in the Sanhedrin. In fact, as long as the Sanhedrin was in power, which was until about 600, until the end of the Talmud, the Jerusalem Talmud, about 600 years, 500 AD, as long as the Sanhedrin was, so there was a head of Sanhedrin, and all Israel listened to him. And the power, let's go again. So the power comes from Israel. And what about the holiness? He put his own hand, two hands, and authority is the same. And people listen to their own generation scholar. What about holiness? He didn't change the holiness. Holiness goes down. That's true. So whoever lives back closer to Moses is higher in holiness. The rabbi, no rabbi in our time, we claim that I'm as holy as Rabbi Akiva. Holiness goes down. Authority is the same. It's important that we look back at the previous generation and see them as holy, because that's why we read the text. Every book that Torah scholar ever wrote in previous generations is considered holy. Because holiness goes down. He lives before me. His authority, not authority. The holiness is higher than me. So if I read a book that's written by Ramban in the 12th century, his holiness is much higher than me. So the holiness goes down, and the authority stays one. Until when? And here are the crux. So what about the question that Moses asked? Moses started to ask him, Hashem, or tell is Hashem. Appoint a leader who replace me, the same as me, both holiness and authority. So when finally this character will come out, the answer is Messiah. For the first time ever, now we understand what the Messiah is. The Messiah is that son of David, with all authority is of the Oral Torah. If you don't believe in Oral Torah, there's no Messiah. Messiah is not David, not son of David. So Messiah will finally come, and Hashem will endow him with spirit and holiness equal to Moses. So finally, we will join he will not only the authority, but he will also have holiness in him, in the sense that Shekhinah come down in his time, in the temple that he was built. And in that sense, he will have same holiness as the time of Moses. But who elect the Messiah? Who decide what the Messiah is? We just said here, every new leader is, Moses said, Hashem said, I will appoint somebody. But he says, no, let me see first if the people want it. The people elected the Sanhedrin. You know, the Sanhedrin was elected not by somebody, but somebody appointed them from above, but the people of Israel elected from their own neighborhood scholars who got together, and so it was from bottom up. It's beautifully described in the Talmud and in the Rambam. So the whole process was very democratic. And the people of Israel actually produced that Sanhedrin. So when Messiah will come, he will have to stand before the people, and they will have to decide if to accept him or not. It's not enough. Yes, Hashem will send a soul down here, qualified to be Messiah, obviously. But the authority to be appointed officially the Messiah, Moses said, took the new leader in front of the people, and they had to accept him, to appoint him. Oh, Joshua, yeah, he is one. David, David is a good example. The prophet Samuel poured oil on him. Messiah means anointed. So he was anointed, but nobody listened to him. Until finally, people of Israel accepted. Once people of Israel accepted him, it took many years. Then he became the king, the Messiah, the king, the anointed king. So the power of this leadership, both the Torah leadership and kingship, secular kingship, if you want, King David. The power to appoint both of them is in the eyes of the people of Israel. And although each one of us has different ideas, but that's the power of the Messiah. They should be able to be the one who everybody will accept it. And the key to his position is the acceptance of Israel. I'll stop here, and I know there are so many questions you can ask here. Let's open the discussion. If you have any questions.